Well, good Monday morning to you. Welcome to our Monday morning live edition of Healthy Living South Mississippi. Live healthy, be healthy with Doctors Jim and Janine Fox of Doctors Nutrition, located on Cowan Road in Gulfport, just south of Pash Road. Our phone lines are 896-0713, 800-349-0713. This is the first day of summer.
Yes.
So I thought I would be real summerish and bright this morning.
Right.
Okay. So, you know, you might have to tone your TVs down just a little bit. Well, anyway, you're welcome to call in about today's subject or about anything that you've maybe had on your mind since we had our last live show. But you've heard the old saying, over the lips, past the gums, look out hips, here it comes.
That's right. That's right.
Well, most people don't know this, but it is Lady Insulin that is the one telling your body to store that Snicker bar to your hips. And a lot of people don't realize that, you know, she's the one directing your sugar binge straight to your waistline. That's right. And so that's what we're talking about today, about your own body's insulin. A lot of people don't realize that, you know, you think of the word insulin, when you think about diabetics. Right. They have to take that.
Now we're talking about, this can be non-diabetics. You don't even have to be pre-diabetic for insulin to actually make weight gain.
And insulin is one of those that it tells your body to store fat.
Yes.
That's one of its jobs, yeah. It takes that sugar, you know, that Snickers bar, what you need of it, and it puts it in the cell so you got energy to go. And then what you don't need, the kind of excess, it says, okay, I'll just store that on the hips over here. Or actually, it stores it in the liver first.
Yeah, and then it goes more to the middle, actually.
Yeah,
but
the liver, then the close by. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's why the abdominal fat, what we call visceral fat, is the worst kind. You know.
Well, I mean, and the liver, of course, doesn't want too much of that stuff hanging out in it.
No. That's why it goes very close. I mean, it gets as much as it can, then it starts storing it all in that midsection, right around the middle. You know, the tummy, the hips, the buttocks, you know, right around that midsection, you know. And that's the bad stuff. You know, that's what we call the visceral fat.
And a lot of people think that, oh, well, I'm not diabetic, so I'm okay, I can eat this, or, you know, it doesn't matter, my weight's not coming from that because I'm not diabetic. I mean, we hear that a lot. That's what we want to talk about today. Like I said, we're not talking about diabetes, we're talking about how insulin makes weight gain. And it does it in pretty much everybody.
You know, that's the thing, you know, we see this all the time. You know, have people come in and they say, well, I've been checked, I'm not diabetic. Okay, cool. So, and we check them, and when we do the test, we always do three separate markers, actually 4. But the big 3 is your fasting sugar in the morning, okay? So if it's like 85, 90, you're cool, all right? Everybody tell you, oh, you're fine. Then we do the hemoglobin A1C, which gives you like a 90-day look at your blood sugar, okay? So if your hemoglobin A1C is good and your fasting blood sugar is good, hey, I'm okay. Maybe not, because what you want to look at is that fasting insulin. And if your insulin is above, now they're saying 3 nanograms per picoliter. If you get 3 or greater in the morning, and most of us run around 5 or 6, something like that, keep it below 10, you're usually okay. But you look at people I've seen people, hundreds of them, come in our office, their fasting sugar's okay, their hemoglobin A1C is okay, they've been told they're fine, they're overweight, and their insulin is off the chart.
We see insulin sometimes, you know, we said needs to definitely be under 10. Under 5 is probably more optimal. But we see them at 70, 80.
Yeah.
And this is in people that aren't diabetic. And sometimes they're not even pre-diabetic. Now, sometimes they are, sometimes they're not.
Sometimes they are.
But that's why you have to check to see. But one thing that I thought was interesting, and over the years, more lab work we do, you know how occasionally you have those skinny people that can eat anything?
I used to be that way.
No, but I mean the really
time
thin,
ago, right. Long time ago.
The really thin ones that can seem to eat whatever they want and never gain weight, even when they get older. Well, one thing we have found in doing lab work that they have in common, all of them, their fasting insulin sometimes is flagged low. They actually, it is so low, and it's because their body doesn't overproduce insulin. That's why they can eat what they want, because their body produces enough insulin, obviously, to control their sugar, because they're not diabetic, but it does not keep it high. And when that insulin stays high, you're going to store fat. And it actually makes you hungry as well. So, I mean, it does a couple things.
Because it lowers the blood sugar, so you're going to be hungry.
So you're going to be hungry and think you need something, so you're going to eat more. But, you know, that's one thing we have found. The really thin people, they have really low fasting insulin, and sometimes maybe it is genetics in that group. But most people, if they eat too much sugar, their insulin's going to be higher.
Is it true that we should actually eat every few hours, but it's important is what you eat like a snack or something, maybe some peanuts or whatever? No.
There's conflicting information on that.
Okay. Some of the latest research looks at it and says that, you know, actually we're better off doing an intermittent fast, which means like, okay, if you eat breakfast in the morning, say at 8 o'clock, you really shouldn't probably eat unless you're hungry. And if you eat the right thing in the morning at 8 o'clock, you're probably not going to be hungry until around 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, no, that ain't happening.
You didn't eat the right thing at breakfast.
But now, I mean, like I said, there is definitely conflicting research on that because some people will say eat often. Now, if you do eat often, you need to eat the right thing because if you're eating
normally
sugar often, it's not going to help.
My breakfast usually consists of a couple of hard-boiled eggs
Okay.
and some water. So, I mean, that's what I usually eat in the morning. But within 2, 3 hours, it's like, oh, I got to eat something.
You're not getting enough fat. And that's
Good
one
fat.
of the things that the listeners need to be really paying attention to here. Fat doesn't increase your insulin production, so fat is not necessarily going to make you fat. But you want the good fats, and just like you had 2 boiled eggs, it's got a little bit of fat, but it doesn't have a lot, and it's probably not enough to sustain you for say 3 or 4 hours.
So a side of bacon probably would be out.
No, a side of bacon might actually give you enough fat to where you'd be good for 3 or 4 hours. But
Okay.
you want the right kind of bacon. You want bacon that's not cured with sugar.
Okay.
There's that guy again. and you want bacon that comes from your pastured animals. You don't want the farm raised.
You don't want the ones with nitrates. You don't want, I mean, there's a lot of things
Chemicals.
you can put chemicals in it that's not good for you either.
Right.
Okay.
But a lot of people think, now the problem with the American diet is it has a lot of fat, but it has a lot of sugar with it.
It
So
has the wrong kind of
you
fat, too.
actually take all that sugar and you make the insulin high, then you are going to store everything you eat, even the fat. I mean, it even makes, so people can't just increase their fat and not decrease their carbohydrates. So I mean, that's one thing.
But if you do decrease your carbohydrate load, you want to increase the good fats. Now, the good fats are going to be something like your coconut oil, your olive oil, something like that.
Walnut oil, nuts, seeds,
Okay.
Things like that. Your cottonseed oil, terrible. Your soybean oil, terrible. All your processed foods, if you look, that's the kind of oil they use because it's cheap. And it's all genetically modified. Corn oil, terrible. So, you start looking at, that's what people are eating because they're eating a lot of the packaged processed foods.
How about extra virgin olive oil?
That's
Very good.
That's good.
Okay.
That's a good
'Cause that's
fat.
all I use. That's all I
Very
use.
good.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's good stuff. All right, our phone lines are open. You can call us now at 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Any health-related questions you might have, even though we are kind of talking about your body's insulin today. Any other questions you might have, please feel free to call. We'll be right back. And welcome back to our Monday morning live edition of Healthy Living South Mississippi. Live healthy, be healthy with Dr. Jim and Janine Fox of Doctors Nutrition. They are located on Callan Road in Gulfport, just south of Pass Road. They're open Monday through Saturday. Monday through Friday, they're open from 10 to 5:30. Saturdays, 11 to 2. Jim and Janine are there on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And Dr. Mays is there on Wednesdays and Fridays. And, of course, they've got a great staff of people there. And with Nurse Brooke doing blood work
Yes.
whenever you need that done. So you can stop by there and get that done there. How can we change your diet to help control your insulin? I know one of the things that talked about is the one that I started on, that low glycemic diet.
Right.
Which is right. The higher the glycemic index, the more insulin response you're going to get, the faster the insulin response you're going to get. But the way to do it is to cut out the sugars and cut out especially the high glycemic carbohydrates. Now, the low glycemic carbohydrates usually aren't too bad for most people. That's something like green beans, for instance. That's your old buddy broccoli.
Or broccoli or cauliflower or things like that. Now we're not saying no carbohydrates, and even one of the things that people don't realize is that fruit juice is one of the worst things that you can do because it hits the system quick. If you're going to do fruit, eat a piece of fruit.
Right.
And the difference is that the fiber in the fruit slows that insulin response down. You don't actually have it spike as fast. And so if you eat too much fruit, it'll still do it even eating fruit, but never drink your fruit.
And if you're going to make a smoothie, and we hear this one all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I have a smoothie for breakfast. Okay, what do you put in it? And they go through the litany. Well, I put a little kale, because you ever drink just pure kale juice?
I've heard it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's rather.
I heard a comedian the other
interesting.
day on the Comedy Channel or something talking about that, how nasty it is.
Oh,
I've never eaten it and don't want to.
What everybody does is do it and they put all the sugar with it.
They put fruit. Oh, well, I put, an apple and an orange and, pears
Banana
and
and-
fruits and all this stuff. Well, what you're doing is, you got to make this stuff taste decent. So, you're better off, like she said, eat your food. Don't drink it. If you think about it, what happens with with your fruit, and when you put that apple or whatever in that particular smoothie you're making, You blend that fiber down to where it's nothing but just, pulverized mush, okay? There's nothing to slow it down. It's the normal fiber, that wraps up or holds together an apple. When you chew it up, even at your best, you can't break it completely down. So you get these little chunks that go down to the digestive tract. And, the body has to kind of work at getting that sugars and stuff out of there. But you blend it up in a smoothie, boom, hits your system like that.
What about bananas? I've heard people say that bananas, even eating bananas,
high glycemic.
High glycemic.
Yeah.
Really?
It is one of the highest. Now, one of your highest glycemic foods is a potato, a white potato. It is the same glycemic index as a bowl of sugar.
But it's just glucose. When you look at table sugar, okay, that white stuff that everybody's got, that they put in their coffee and all that stuff, all right? When you look at that, it's 50% fructose and 50% glucose. Well, a potato is 100% glucose. So it doesn't taste sweet. Boy, it hits your system just like a bowl of sugar.
What kind of foods will reduce your insulin?
Well, the thing, your fats, okay, because your body doesn't have to produce insulin to regulate fat and fat metabolism. So your proteins, now if you overeat protein, you can cause problems too, because proteins get broken down into the amino acids, and some of them, like the branched chains, your body's going to have a little bit of insulin to actually use those. So, the best thing to do is a higher fat, a little bit more protein than probably than most people eat, and less complex carbohydrates. You want those complex carbohydrates,
Yeah,
like you
it's really
said.
what not to eat rather than what to eat.
Right.
It's more of what not to eat, and unfortunately, people tend to eat a lot of those foods that are on the not to eat list.
Because they're good.
Matter of fact, if you stop by their office there on Cowan Road, they have a sheet and it says low glycemic diet.
Yeah.
And it has good, fair, and on the back it's bad.
Right.
But the great thing about it is there's a lot of really good food on there that you can eat. I mean, even the fair stuff. I mean, but it also has your listing of your fruits and everything that to eat, and a lot of things that you should eat in moderation.
Right.
We get an awful lot of people like say that, moderation. Of course, moderation's the thing that I don't know if it really exists anymore or not.
Well, it doesn't down south.
No, it doesn't. Okay, that's true. Okay, southern food, right. All right, but everybody says, well, I eat berries. Well, berries are some of your best fruits to eat. Okay, strawberries, blueberries, okay, things like that. The problem is everybody takes a big glob of blueberries and puts in their smoothies, okay, and here they go. And they've got like a double handful of, and you shouldn't do that every day.
And also the amount that they eat on fruit. People say, well, I'll sit down and they have a bowl this big, and that giant bowl may have 6 to 8 servings of fruit in it, which is way too much at a time.
Grant from Gaucher wants to know, what are the best foods for runners to eat to maintain energy?
Actually having enough glycogen stores, okay, which is maybe some of your complex carbohydrates. And you want to do that. It takes 36 hours to store glycogen. Okay, so if you're going to go out and run today, and all the runners want to carry these little glucose packs, because that's all they are, basically sugar, and they suck on that while they're running because it's instant energy. But the problem with it is you're still, consuming way too much sugar. There's a lot of research going on in exercise physiology now, and shows that, if they'll eat enough of the right kind of fats, good proteins, and the complex carbohydrates, and maintain that energy store when that glycogen, your body can break down that glycogen, which can get you through that.
You can definitely get the stores from fruit as well.
Fruit
like
is
I said,
fine,
you just don't want to overdo it.
Yeah, and remember, it takes 36 hours to store that, so you can't eat, you can't eat your cereal breakfast this morning with a whole bunch of fruit in it and have that energy to last you the rest of the day. Can't do it. Your body takes 36 hours to store glycogen.
Wow.
So, there was a real interesting...
So if you eat it tonight, then go out and run on Wednesday.
Yeah. And, you've got to plan for these things. As a matter of fact, somebody that we know, a good friend, used to play for the Denver Broncos, okay? He's a wide receiver. And, he tells a story back when they won their first Super Bowl, they had an exercise physiologist come in and guide them through how to eat. And the football players always have the steak and egg, thing for meal for the night before. Well, they convinced the players to start that high carbohydrate meal 36 hours before the game so they could store the energy, the glycogen. That's when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The next year, they fired the guy, cost too much, fired him, never won another Super Bowl.
They can't say never, but no, while he was there.
While he was there, that team,
he was
same
there.
team. He said, we actually had a better team the next year.
And didn't
lost.
win because they changed back the way people were eating. So what you eat can make a difference in athletic performance.
Wow.
And there's a lot of new research coming out. Just get online. Just do some
Google.
searches. But no one's going to tell you to have a Snickers bar and it be the best thing for athletic performance. I
No.
promise. You know, that's just not good for you.
896-0713, 800-349-0713. Our phone lines are open to you if you have a question regarding this. You're a runner or whatever. So, but we'll be back in just a moment with this week's special. And welcome back to our Monday morning live edition of Healthy Living South Mississippi. Live healthy, be healthy with Dr. Jim and Janine Fox of Doctors Nutrition on Cowan Road in Gulfport, just south of Pass Road. We're talking about your body's insulin. A lot of people think that, when you talk about insulin, you're talking about people that are diabetic and that they have to take insulin and all that, but you'd be surprised. Your body actually makes insulin that can, and if you don't feed it right, can be detrimental to your health.
Yeah,
Yes.
when you look at diabetes, the diabetes too, the most common type of diabetes is actually insulin resistance. That's what they call a severe insulin resistance. That's what happens to you when you get severely insulin resistant. You actually become the type 2 diabetes.
And what it's from is from all those years of having high insulin. And the cells then get resistant to the insulin and doesn't allow the insulin to carry the sugar into the cells anymore, so then it builds up in the bloodstream. So eventually it causes type 2 diabetes,
Right.
but you can actually be insulin resistant and have an insulin problem very, very young, and it causes problems when you're young. We're seeing a lot of the young girls with PCOS, and they have real high insulin. So it tends to be diet that drives that condition, which is the polycystic ovarian syndrome. So there's a lot of conditions that are driven by the high insulin.
Okay. I'm sorry. Suzanne from Gulfport's on the phone with a question. Good morning, Suzanne.
Hi, how are you?
Fine.
Fine.
How are you?
Good. I'm a question. I've been a type 2 diabetic for about 20 years. My doctor has me on 100 of Lantus in divided doses, and my A1C is 10. My potassium the other day was 6 at her office. And I'm reading a lot about where type 2 diabetics should not take insulin anymore, that's a new coming thing. And I'm just wondering your take on that.
Well, you always want to work with your doctor on
Right.
your insulin. We don't ever tell people to stop taking their insulin.
Correct.
But
Right.
changing your diet is essential.
Okay.
Because we have had quite a few patients that when they change their diet, and we work with them, and they get that blood sugar down, then their doctor starts decreasing their insulin, and eventually we've had quite a few get off of their insulin. And insulin is not just the key to making sugar go down. What
No.
you eat is the key to making sugar go down when you're type 2. Type
Right.
1 is a total different story.
Right.
Right. But what do you think about the new age of type 2 diabetics not taking insulin?
I've probably always thought that. So
Well, the thing you have to
Yeah.
do, Suzanne,
it's not really new for us. We've
No.
always tried to get people to change their diets to
The-
actually help with the sugar.
Here's the thing you have to look at. We always ask the question, what caused this diabetic condition? And it's insulin resistance, okay? So if it's insulin resistance that caused the problem, you don't just give more insulin. You have to do something to change, and what drives insulin? Carbohydrates.
Right.
So, okay, we've got to go back and just do some basic common sense approach to it. Let's reduce and change the types of carbohydrates you're doing, reduce the amount that you're doing, increase some of the other things like your proteins and fats, good fats, and we'll guide you through that. And then you can start seeing the body change that insulin resistance. Now, here's the kicker. It's going to take a long time for somebody like you that's had a lot of insulin poured in there, your own and then outside or exogenous insulin as well. It's going to take a long time for you to turn that insulin resistance around.
But you can.
You can do it.
Because
it's just going to take
we've
time.
had many people come in. I've had people like you, and their
Yes.
A1C might even be 12, may even be worse than yours. And at the same time, they're on medications and they're on insulin. And I have had those people bring their A1C down to in the 5s.
Wow.
But it takes change, and it also takes fixing some of the underlying problems. It's another thing
Right.
that we usually look at, like a vitamin D deficiency. They know that makes you more insulin resistant as well.
Right.
So
Yes.
there's a lot of little things that you got to fix underneath in order to be able to, lower your sugar and get healthier. We always say
Right.
get healthier, not just lower your sugar.
What are your thoughts on elevated potassium as it goes along with diabetes?
Well, the thing that happens is you start running into the adrenal problems, and your potassium is controlled by your adrenal glands. And typically speaking, a patient like yourself has got their adrenal glands exhausted because their adrenals are trying to compensate and help
Because of the sugar.
because of the sugar and the insulin, and they just get overwhelmed. And so you get in that situation where your cortisol levels go crazy. You get into the other corticosteroids that control that those mineral balance, like potassium and sodium and so on. And so that's just signs, if you will, that the system is broken. And you have to start looking back, like Janine said, find those causes and start fixing those other things, like there's the adrenal thyroid complex, or axis we call it, and the pituitary adrenal axis. You have to look at all those things and start putting Humpty Dumpty back together, one little piece at a time.
Because what we always say is, like, you can have underlying problems that's making the diabetic problem worse, but then the diabetes is making it worse. So it's kind of like you can't just fix one little part of it and still expect it to fix everything.
And that's why, Suzanne, when we do blood glucose or blood panels to see what's going on, we check a lot more than just your hemoglobin A1C and your fasting blood sugar.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost like saying, okay, I really don't know what the problem is, and I don't really want to know. You have to look at all these things, like your thyroid. You look at the adrenal complex. You look at your blood sugar, vitamin D, vitamin B12. You have to look at all that stuff to really find out exactly what's going on.
All right. Thank you for the call, Suzanne. Someone else called in. How do you control hypoglycemia?
Stop eating sugar.
Stop eating sugar. Actually, what happens with hypoglycemia, and we see this all the time, is people eat sugar. Their insulin spikes in order to handle that sugar. And then instead of just controlling the sugar, it makes it drop like a rock. And then your response is to eat more sugar. And so then you eat sugar again. It's a never-ending cycle. You go up and down and up and down and up and down, and you feel terrible because there's a lot of symptoms that go along with hypoglycemia.
Increasing your fats is
actually
gonna be
increasing
one of
the fat, good fats, stopping the sugar, and eating like a diabetic. You won't
like
have
a diabetic should.
Right, like a diabetic should.
And what's an example of a good fat?
Like olive oil. You mentioned olive oil.
Walnut oil,
extra virgin olive oil.
Coconut oil.
nuts, seeds,
nuts.
pumpkin seeds. Just
Almonds.
Yeah,
I've heard
almonds
almonds.
are
great.
Almonds
Oh,
are
yeah.
really great. Yeah.
Right.
So, and hypoglycemics need to eat just like that, because eventually a lot of people that are hypoglycemic later in life will be type 2 diabetic. So it's a sign that it could be coming.
It's coming.
Yeah.
All right. What's our special this week?
Oh,
Our special, we have two things that is exactly for helping with that sugar problem. One is GSF, or glucose support formula, and the other one is berberine max. And berberine, a lot of research on the berberines, which are, they kind of spelled it wrong, but that's okay. It's berberine, not berberine. Berberine, and it has a lot of research on how it helps us, change that insulin resistance, and that's a really big thing.
and then the glucose support formula has things in it that a lot of people have heard of, like the Gymnema sylvestre has the cinnamon extract, and everybody's heard about cinnamon helping with blood sugar. It has your
Alpha-lipoic
chromium, your alpha-lipoic acid, so it has a lot of different things to actually help with that sugar response.
And to protect the body from
from the
ravages.
sugar, right.
And of course, one of the main things, as we mentioned before, is throughout the whole time and throughout everything we talk about, is your diet. You have to
Yes.
straighten your diet out.
We always say that's number one.
And again, if you go by the Doctor's Nutrition there on Cowan Road, south of Pass Road in Gulfport, they have a sheet that has on there a low glycemic diet that has some great things on there for you. And you still eat good. You're not starving yourself or anything like that. And a lot of it is eating smart. Next week,
next week we're going to be talking about how to prevent dementia and Alzheimer's.
Right. We're
Okay.
talking about prevention.
Right, prevention,
Right.
not stopping it.
Right,
you know.
exactly.
So anyway, be sure you join us next week right here at 9 o'clock. We do this every Monday, our live edition of Healthy Living South Mississippi. Live healthy, be healthy. So be sure that you get out, drink plenty of water because of the heat indexes going on right now, and have a great day.